cause unknown, the epidemic of sudden deaths in 2021 and 2022. Folks, I'm going to tell you, we've had a lot of great books on here, great writers. I think this, for those people that are you're just having difficulty getting through to them, or, you know, well, my doctor says, my scientist, the moment you sort of open this up and you just, you know, a couple pages in, what you're doing is all of these headlines I'm seeing, like this is what I'm seeing on my Facebook page. This is like died suddenly, you know, sudden death, dead in their sleep. And you are in your book just laying it out. It's so compelling. I don't know how, it's like a coffee table book. How does anyone put that down? You are doing something that no one's done in the book. They allude to it, but you're showing us, folks, here are the headlines. You're asking the appropriate question here, which is, you know, when do we remember medical practitioners? When do we remember athletes collapsing on the field? And you sort of start in that space, which is so brilliant, and then take this book into, you know, if I'm a betting man, which is actually what I do for a living, here's how these bets start to go in the financial markets. What inspired you to sort of approach the book that way? Because it's very, is pedestrian right the word? It's so tangible to your average person.
So, you know, I'm a metadata guy. I'm a Wall Street analyst. A lot of that stuff is dry. And, but I do a fairly good job of trying to explain it and size it for people. But I was approached in August, mid-August of this year by Gavin DeBecker, who wrote my afterword. And he pitched the book to me. And he said, your data is amazing. Your background is amazing. Not amazing in that I'm amazing, but it's a different perspective because there's a lot of scientists and doctors that have a narrative, and their narrative, you know, the ones that we like are correct. But I'm looking at the metadata and different data sources. And Gavin suggested we start going into the sudden athletic deaths, which got me interested, by the way, in the first place, in figuring out the vaccine had an issue. And we wanted to, through pictures and stories and QR codes, really bring the human element here. Like, when you analyze metadata, it's a number in a spreadsheet, but these are real human beings. These are real families affected by the tragedy. And we wanted to highlight how abnormal this is and how rare it is and how disgusting what's going on is, and put a human face on this and honor the dead. This is tragic. And, you know, the book is about 210 pages long, but it's a quick read because the data analysis that I do is brief for a reason. We want people to get through it quickly. It's really, you know, conclusive as far as I am concerned. And I lay it out in the way that a Wall Street research report would be written and come to my conclusion that it's the vaccines. The conclusion of everybody else is it's ABV, anything but the vaccine. Right. But none of those explanations make any sense. So this book, was designed and written with the person who doesn't know and isn't convinced in mind. I mean, the red meat crowd and the echo chamber will like it, but this is really intended to convince someone that this is true. It was not normal before 2021. It's happening. It's tragic. And at this point, it's a cover-up and a crime. I conclude with that. And I purposefully leave out the who and the why, because that would assault people's worldview. It's speculation on my part. I'm just presenting data and facts, and then I say this seems to me to be a cover-up at the very least.
And I think, frankly, folks, this is a stocking stuffer. I know it may seem depressing in some ways, like, why would I want to give this to someone on Christmas? But if you think about what we're involved in here, if you've been watching The High Wire, if you read this book yourself or look at any of the data that Edward Dowd is sharing on his website, you have to know, we know what's going on here, which means this isn't going to go away. Right now, all of these things that you're doing, when you're communicating with your loved ones or giving them a book that really matters, you are putting a time capsule into their life that you will be able to say, as it's all going south, you know, at least I tried to show you this. They cannot blame you for not having warned them. And for those you get through to, you get to stop them from getting that next booster or moving deeper and deeper into this issue that is going to take so many lives. It's already historic. And so that's why I think this book is so great. I really do think that this is a book that it's a page turner, because first of all, you're reading the headlines, and we live in this thought bubble right now. I think about this. I know that my family that are, liberal progressives in Boulder, Colorado, their Facebook page is designed to show them everything that they believe in, not the same headlines that I'm seeing. So if I hand them this book, they go, are you kidding me? Is this really happening? That's what we have to recognize, is social media has done such a great job of sort of keeping us in our own thought cloud, in our own community. This book, I think, breaks that. It immediately, you go, oh my God, there's these headlines, and then you get an explanation not from some wackadoodle, a guy that bets, is known for working on financial interest and breaking this down to see how do we make money off of it. You must talk to other financial analysts. Have you found that, I'm sure a lot of them get vaccinated. Does money talk when this conversation, when you approach it from that perspective?
It does. I have an anecdote from several weeks ago. A friend on Maui who doesn't live here anymore came to visit. He got vaccinated, thought I was kind of a kooky, crazy conspiracy theorist. Then he heard I wrote a book, and he kind of laughed about that. And then someone showed him a video of that I did with Steve Bannon about this problem. Then he started giving the excuses that we all hear. Oh, it's due to suicides, it's due to drug overdoses. And I said, hey, listen, it's my day off. Buy the book. And oh, by the way, I'm meeting with some gentlemen from the hedge fund community that want to help us raise assets for what we're doing. And as soon as he heard that, his face turned white and he ran out of there, because it became somehow that broke the spell.
Right.
It just broke the spell for him. And I find that social proof, sometimes a lot of people want to be liked by everybody, and that's what I think is the tragedy of this, is a lot of people got the jabs because of their tribe identity. Well, you might want to get out of your tribe identity if Wall Street's starting to focus on this. And I want to give an example of what happened during the great financial crisis. Goldman Sachs was up to their eyeballs in subprime debt, and they were a big proponent of subprime debt. Then they noticed that something was wrong, and within a day or two, they went the other way. They sold all their subprime debt. Then they started shorting subprime debt, and so Wall Street doesn't care about this. If Wall Street smells money, they'll turn. You can understand something about money and capital. It has a life of its own. It's a force of nature, like gravity, like the oceans. It flows where it wants to flow. And these people will, even though they just all got jabbed themselves, if they can make money, they'll do it. I think they're slowly waking up. And Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, which led Wall Street and corporate America into vaccine mandates, they were the first premier investment banks to do this. They've quietly dropped their mandates this summer. So that should give you pause. Something's going on Wall Street. They may not admit it because they have legal issues. And I'm suspecting a lot of the CEOs and higher ups all got jabbed enthusiastically themselves. But they'll make money if this is what they think is happening.
Well, I think it's such an interesting perspective, and it does shine light, and it is a way to talk to friends that maybe just can't get into the science. They've been jabbed, but when you start realizing, wait a minute, there's people actually now investing in the fact that this vaccine is a failure, that does turn your head. Edward Dowd, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. You're doing incredible work. You're so well spoken on this. And it's one of those painful I told you shows. I mean, you were warning us early on. And so far you're dead on with where this is going. We've been a part of that too. It just seems so obvious to those of us that are looking at it. It's shocking how many people still are blind to it, but that's on us. I feel like our work is to get it out there. I'm glad you've made this book so accessible. So continue the great work, and we look forward to speaking again soon.
Thanks a lot, Del. And it's really an honor to speak with you. You've been on this subject so early, so right, and it's just an honor to be able to present on your show. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, take care. We'll talk to you soon.